Welcome to Blonde Cards and Crafts. Let's make something together. Hello everyone. Today I want to share with you this card I've made, and this is a card made using the Love from Lizi August 2019 kit. And I've used some of the products in the kit to make this card. So let's go ahead and make it. Here you can see I have most of the products that we're going to use to make this card. This is my second go round making this card. I had edited already a first card, but I lost it in process. So here we go. This is the fabulous stamp set that came with the kit. We got a Nuvo liquid glue. We also got a Nuvo embossing pen, and I'll be using those. I also have some paper that came in the kit and some white paper, the embossing powder. This is Platinum Tiara we got in the kit. I'll be using my Spectrum Noir pen, and that will embellish the gem itself. I'm going to use Memento London Fog for most of my stamping. And I have my Versamark ink as well for using for my embossing. I'm going to use my Tim Holtz travel platform, and in case I need to use the blocks, I have them on hand as well. I've got this Dovecraft stamp set here, and I'm going to use one of the sentiments in this, and this is the just to let you know sentiment I'm going to be using. The stamp set that we got in the kit has these fabulous words in it. Now you can stamp out the word like I'm going to do for the card, but they've also got these extra little stamps here. They look like little bits, but when you put them on over the words, it actually highlights the letters. But I'm not going to be doing that today. I'm just going to stamp just the words itself. There's a sentiment on the stamp, and it's "You're priceless." I'm going to take that sentiment and I'm going to cut it in half, so I'll be able to use the word "your" with the sentiment "a gem." I'm also going to use that rectangular faceted gem there at the top. So that's basically everything that we're going to use. The only thing I forgot to put in there was my little sequins. So right, let's get started. I'm using a ready-made card base here, and this comes with matching envelopes, and they are a pack of 50 that I got. So I'm going to use that for my card base. This piece of patterned paper here came in the kit. They came as a 6x6, but I've cut it down to 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. I'm also going to put a piece of white card on top of that, and it measures 5 1/4 by 5 1/4. Now, my card base, as I said, is a ready-made one, but you can make yours by cutting a piece of card which measures 12 by 6 and then score it at the 6-inch mark. And then all we need to do is fold it over like this and burnish the score lines. So our card measures 6 by 6 with our pieces of paper on top. This is a piece of white card that I have, and I'm going to use this to stamp "You're a Gem." I'm going to stamp it with Versamark ink and emboss it, as well as the gem. I'm going to do that as well on there. That scrap piece of white card that I have here measures 3 1/4 by 4 inches, but you can use any size. Now this initially was a 6 by 6 inch piece of pattern paper, and I cut it to 5 3/4 by 5 3/4. So I have these two little strips here, and I'm going to use them inside the card to embellish it. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to stamp the front panel of our card, and to do that I'm going to use my Tim Holtz stamping platform. I'm going to leave our front panel here for it to stamp down on. So here we have the stamping platform, and I have my paper butted up against the right hand side edge. I've taken my T-square ruler here and I've butted the end of that up against the edge on the right. Now I'm going to put in my words that I'm using, the "your" and the "a gem." So the sentiment will read "You're a gem." Once I have them lined up there on the edge of the ruler and nicely, situated in there, I'm going to bring down the front plate of the stamping platform, and that will pick up my words. So once I have that done, I'm going to make sure that my sentiment is straight. So I've taken a piece of computer paper, I'm using my Memento ink, I'm going to stamp down on that and make sure it's straight and the way I want it. And I'm happy with that, so that's great. So as I said, I'm using Memento London Fog for my stamping, and I'm going to lift the plate, press it down, and then lift it back up. And then once that's stamped, I'm then going to move my paper down. So I've sped the video now up, and it's 6 times faster than it would be. So you can see here that each time I press down on the platform, you can see that I'm leaving a gap, and I'm more or less making sure that it's an even gap between each press of the platform. So I'm going to do this 5 times, and then I'm going to take my scrap piece of paper that I had, and I'm going to again stamp out the sentiment and the faceted jewel. I'm using the Memento ink, and then I'm going to use the Versamark ink before I use my embossing powder on it. Now I have my heat tool off to the right, and that's been on for about 20 or 30 seconds heating up for me. It's always good to make sure that your heat tool is good and hot when you're bringing it over to the paper. That way it will melt the embossing powder quickly and won't warp the card so much. So I'm going to use my Fiskars trimmer now to cut out the sentiment Euro gem, as well as cut out my faceted gem. And then for a finish, I'm going to use my scissors there to cut the corners so that I have a nice even border around my gem. Next, I'm going to bring down my front panel and my embossing pen. I'm making sure that it's ready to go, and I've drawn a couple of circles. I've put my embossing powder down, and I'm just brushing off with a little brush the excess around the edges. I'm going to tip that back into the little pot, and then I'm bringing in a little brush that I use for cleaning off the embossing powder. Now my heat tool is good and hot, so I'm going to make sure I melt all the powder on my front panel. Lovely, all finished. Now it's time to put some double-sided adhesive tape on the back of my patterned paper and my front panel. And I find using either glue or double-sided adhesive tape the best for putting together. Sometimes when I'm putting down my pieces of paper, they don't go down straight, so I find by doing it this way it helps me get a nice even border all around. So I've done that with the patterned paper, and now I'm going to do it with the front white panel. And I pull out the middle piece first of the release paper and then the sides. So I'm putting some 3M foam tape on the back of my sentiment Euro gem. I'm just lining that up, and I'm going to put another piece on the back of the jewel as well. And I'm going to butt that up against the Euro gem. Now I have my Spectrum Noir, and this is a sparkle pen, and I've put that on the front of the gem. Now I'm going to stamp the inside of our card. I'm going to use the stamp Just to Let You Know by Dovecraft, as well as the faceted jewel. Now the great thing about using the stamp positioner is I can stamp it multiple times to make sure I get a good coverage with the ink. So that's the left side done, and the sentiment. Now I'll just stamp down the right side. And I'm going to do that twice with the ink so I get good coverage, and I'm happy with that. I'm going to take the 2 strips of paper, the patterned paper that we had left, and I'm going to use the Nuvo glue that came in the kit with this fine tip. And I'm going to do my best to make sure that it's centered and that there's a nice even space between the two. So we're back now to normal speed, and all I have to do is embellish the front of our card and embellish our envelope. So again, using the Nuvo glue in the Quickie pen, I'm going to put some dots of glue down, and I'm going to put 6 in all, and I'm going to use some of the silver and the rose gold or antique gold sequins on the front of the card. On the first card I made, I just used the silver and the white sequins, but I thought the rose gold sequins would pick up the lovely pinkish rosy colour in the patterned paper. And through the magic of editing, that's the front of our card finished. I think it's lovely, I'm very pleased with it, and I like the rose gold sequins on the front. So here we are, I have my envelope and I'm going to take one of my little blocks. It's an acrylic block and I'm going to use that to stamp down this faceted jewel. Again, I'm going to use my Memento London Fog ink and I'm going to stamp this image on the left hand side of my card. So I'm going to start at the top and I don't want them straight. I'm going to kind of angle them a little down to the right and then angle them up a little on the right. So you'll be able to see here what I'm doing. Thank you very much for watching my video. We're nearly all done now. If you've enjoyed this tutorial, please consider clicking on the like button below and giving me a thumbs up. If you're a subscriber, I'd like to say thank you, and if not, you might consider clicking on the subscription button below. That way, each time I post a new video, you'll be notified. To thank Lizi for bringing out a lovely kit this August. I really enjoyed using the Happy You papers that came in this kit, as well as the faceted gems. The stamp set is just lovely and I think Lizi did a brilliant job. So thanks so much, Lizi. So that's the end of my tutorial today. I've left you with some images of the cards that I've made, both the one we made just now and the one I've made earlier. I hope you enjoyed the tutorial, and until next time, bye bye.